Texting. 911 here in the sack. Welcome back to the sack on a Sunday night. It is the witching hour, boys and girls. I am flying solo. The highly questionable Najee Marliaccio, the redoubtable one, Tom Izzo, and the fixture, Joe Russell, hopefully will be joining us back later on this week. It is a Sunday edition of IDD. For those of you that know, I don't disagree. Sports talk. We're going to start with baseball tonight. You'll notice behind me there is a single jersey hanging. I had told people that Mr. Bergeron would be getting his own special, sorry to adjust the camera there, tribute at some point. IDD, I did mention him briefly in our last show, a little shout out, but he's going to get a segment tonight, and does anybody deserve it more? I don't know. He is the quintessential Bruin, at least he has been in my lifetime, and I'll give you the list where he is, because the next thing will be his jersey hanging from the banners in Boston, which no doubtly is going to happen soon, and deservedly so. But that'll be segment 2 for Mr. Bergeron tonight. Segment 1, I'm going to start with Major League Baseball. Red Sox dropped a heartbreaker in 11 innings out on the left coast to San Francisco, who is fighting, who was in the wild card as well. So two very evenly matched teams. They dropped 2 out of 3 in that series. All were contested. They won Game 1, 5-3. Game 2 was 3-2, and then today the decider 4-3 in 11 innings. So they made a very good accounting of themselves, or have so far. Look, 2 out of 3 would have been great. San Fran came in playing well, so they didn't get swept. And they were very competitive, more than held their own, in a very tough place to play against a team that's been playing well. So I'm not going to bite their head off today. Their pitching was good enough to win those games, 3 runs and 4 runs and 11. I mean, they 3 runs basically in 2 9-inning stretches on the left coast against a pretty good lineup. So their pitching was good enough. They didn't hit as well as they needed to. San Fran's a good team. So I'm not going to beat them up over that. They go to Seattle for 3. Who was right on their heels for the wild card in the AL for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, realistic goal is 2 out of 3. We'll see how they do. But they've done a great job. Middle relief has done well. The bats, look, they're playing against quality teams now. And Seattle is fighting tooth and nail as well to get into the final wild card spot. So that'll be a dawning. Should be those 3 games coming up in the Great Northwest, starting tomorrow night, 9:40. I believe is the first tip-off time. Real quick, just for the pitching matchups coming up in Seattle, they will start. It'll be Nick Pivetta against George Kirby Monday night. Tuesday will be Brian Bello against Bryce Miller, and then on Wednesday, who is Wednesday? Wednesday would be Crawford against Logan Gilbert. Then they get Thursday off. And then they come home back to Fenway next weekend for what could be a huge series with the Toronto Blue Jays. So see if they can take care of business in Seattle. Get 2 out of 3 would be great. Again, they're playing well, just don't get swept. But then they come back and they've got Toronto coming up into Boston the next weekend. That should be interesting. Look, it's July 31st right now. It was July 30th. But I would have believed no one had someone said to me back in April that at the end of July these guys would be 2.5 out of the wild card spot. I wouldn't have believed you. And no one that I know, no publishing. I mean, ESPN said it would be a success if they just made the playoffs because nobody has them getting in. Nobody had them getting in. So I'm not the only one who's been surprised by this. Now, look, I've never been surprised by Alex Cora. To me, he's the best manager in baseball. If not, he's in the top 2 or 3. That's where he is. But the hand he got dealt, at least on paper, did not look very good. Their pitching up through the farm system has looked solid. They've got some great middle relief. They found a closer in Kenley Jansen. I didn't even know who the hell that guy was, and he was a career 3-something saves, 100 saves coming into Boston. He has gotten his 400th career, and he's continued to pitch well throughout the season for the Red Sox. So, and they've done all this with Chris Sale being gone after 6 consecutive very quality starts. And he has begun throwing. Who knows when he comes back? He could be a shot in the arm for the postseason run if they don't make any moves at the trade deadline. And again, I was adamant that they needed another frontline starter when the season started, and a closer. I didn't know about Jansen or how good he would be or what he had left in the tank. Turns out he's been great. He's been one of the best closers in the game. So, and at 35, closers can last a little bit longer because they don't have to pitch that long. So who knows? Maybe they get a couple years out of him. We'll see. Hopefully they do. Chris Sale, if he comes back and he looks anything like he did when he got hurt, that could be a shot in the arm for them. And I'm not opposed to them adding a frontline starter. My thing is, what would they have to give up to get that frontline starter? Given how well things have turned out in terms of what's coming up in the farm system, I'd be hesitant. Because unless that dude has years left to give, I'd be hesitant to give up the future when you're right there now. And Sale is going to come back at some point, let the thing play out and see what happens. Because you're playing with house money at this point. Because no one thought the Red Sox would be where they are right now. And yeah, they dropped 2 tough ones this weekend, but they were on the road against a quality team. They won 1 game out there, and they were very competitive in the other 2. They have held their own so far. We'll see what happens in Seattle. The key is for them really beat the teams you're supposed to beat. If we talked about this when the season started because the expectations for the Mets were World Series or bust because of their payroll and what they brought in talent-wise. And what I said then about the Mets is what I will say now about the Red Sox. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat, play 500 against the elite, and let the chips fall where they may and see what happens. And that's if they don't make a move at the trade deadline. And again, I'm not opposed to it, but who would it be? How old? How many years left? Where are they? And what would we have to give up to get that person or persons? And I think that's a fair question. Because again, if they don't make a move now, I'm not going to lose my mind. Because it seems to me that they're going to at least, barring a major injury, they're going to have a shot at this thing, at least to get in. And once you get in that sport, just like the NHL in particular, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So I'm very, very proud of what they have done because I just didn't see it. And I don't think anybody really saw it on paper this year. None of the baseball gurus up there had them finishing higher than third. I think third might have been the biggest or the highest prediction of anybody up in Boston. Third. and that was a stretch. Right now they're in 4th place. They're not in third. But the whole damn division is playing well. The Yankees got Judge back, as you saw. He banged one out the other day. They did get pelted by Baltimore, who to me has been this side of the Atlanta Braves, the best team maybe in baseball. Pretty much since June 1st. It's a loaded division. They're right there. They're not out of this by a long shot. And Alex Cora, to me, right now, if this thing ended tomorrow, would be manager of the year in Major League Baseball. So, yes, their bats could have been better this weekend. Like, you can't. Every time they play against a team like the caliber of San Fran, who, if you look at the standings, the Giants are 2 games out of first place in the West. The team they're chasing is the Dodgers. So they've been pretty solid all season. They're plus 24 run differential. They're good at home. They're good on the road. They're a good team. They're a good team that has a very good chance of getting in. So, and I think if it ended today, they would be in. So, if it ended today, they would be in the playoffs in the NL. So, they're playing a playoff team, and the next 3 days they're playing a team right on their heels in Seattle. So, they got the work cut out for them. If they get 2 out of 3 and go 3-3 on this road trip against 2 quality teams, that'd be a huge win. So, and they come home for a big series with Toronto. I'd love to see that. So, I think most of Red Sox Nation would. So we'll see what the next 3 days holds. They've got good pitching coming up, and we'll see if the bats can wake up there in the Northwest. Changing gears, I'm going to leave the dumpster fire that is the New York Mets for Tommy when he gets back. I will say this: he called it on the last show that if they didn't win 6 out of the next 9, it was over. Apparently. The brass in New York felt differently because they they didn't even wait to see if that was going to happen. They pulled the trigger, and they've dealt away Scherzer and their closer already. And I don't know if they're done. So I get Tom being upset, frustrated, or whatever, but he kind of called this. So we'll see what they get. I think he, in the last show, agreed if the manager or if the owner decided to do this at GM that he would be on board with it. So he shouldn't be mad. Disappointed? Absolutely. One of the worst choke jobs in recent memory. A team with that kind of talent, $380 million payroll, being sellers at the trade deadline is embarrassing, to say the least. So as a Mets fan, he has a right to feel embarrassed. I know I would if my team had a payroll like that and did that. I'd be pretty fucking embarrassed. I'd be screaming like he is, so I get it. But I'll leave that to him when he comes back, because I'm sure he's going to have something to say about it, justifiably so. Switching gears to the NFL, we've had a full week and a half of training camp. Preseason schedule has come out. Patriots play their first game against the Texans on August 10th in Foxborough. Ezekiel Elliott has been in for a visit. He left without a contract, although they claim they were impressed with him. My brother seems to think that this would be a great signing if the Patriots got him. For depth purposes, sure. I mean, this guy's 27, 28 years old. As a backup, yeah, he has some value. What does he think he's worth or should be getting, given that's what he would be if he came to Foxborough? He's got to know that. If he thinks he's still a starter, I don't know who he has left to visit with, but they released him a short while ago, and nobody's really come knocking on his door. So if he still thinks he's a starter, he's in the minority, at least as of right now. He's not Dalvin Cook. I don't think he moves the needle for the Patriots. As I said on the last show, Dalvin Cook, to me, would make up for whiffing on DeAndre Hopkins. And look, I get that he doesn't want to practice. He's older. He wants to conserve. I get it, okay? Belichick's clearly not on board with that. The incentive-laden thing for short money to me was, if that came down to how many games he plays or how many practices he's in, I don't know how it was divvied up. But if he gets Dalvin Cook, which the problem is they waited on that because now the Jets, Aaron Rodgers pulled the Tom Brady. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is finally starting to get it after 18 years. That one man can't win a football game. He's certainly proven he can't. So for him to restructure his deal and take $35 million off the top, which gives the Jets a lot of flexibility. Honestly, left tackle should be the priority. I keep hearing that from everybody that's anywhere. And again, there may not be a market or a lot of those out there right now, quality left tackles. The bottom line is if the Jets can't protect this guy, all these skill position players and that defense is not going to matter. So to me, Dalvin Cook, who has been seen around the Jets practices, sounds like he's going to go there. Would he tip the scales? He could. Certainly he could. Because to me, it was Patriots-Jets 1-2. As things currently stand, as nuts as people think I am on this. I go back to the fact that I think the Pats have the best defense in terms of three levels. I think they have, they're supposed to have the best coach too. And Mac Jones is the only other guy in that division not named Rodgers. Who, when he had, his rookie year, he was runner-up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So I know Mac Jones can play. I'm hearing the Bailey Zappi rumblings up there, how he's been outplaying Mac the past few days. I don't care if he's been outplaying Mac the past few days. I don't care, because we don't know what the circumstances are behind that. Is he going against the first-string defense? Is he playing with the first-string offense? What I saw in today's drills was Mac went 10 for 14, Bailey went 12 for 16 with a pick. That doesn't sound to me like outplayed Mac Jones, but I didn't see it. I wasn't there. But just looking at the numbers, it sounds like they didn't really outplay each other at all. The Pats' defense is a top 5 defense, so most quarterbacks should struggle against a defense of that caliber. And in preseason, everybody knows football knows this. Defense is always way ahead of the offense in preseason. Always. That was true in the Brady years. That's true now. That was true before the Brady years. That was true in the Bledsoe years. So defense always rules the day in the first 3 weeks of training camp. You don't start to see the offense do anything until the third preseason game when they actually put in a freaking plan, because they're going to play their offense for a half. Then you start to see some offensive ingenuity and creativity coming. Right now, it's about the basics. And defense is always ahead of them at this point in the year. Anybody that knows football will tell you that. So I'm not panicking over them struggling in the first week and a half in the red zone when they're still trying to figure out who's the X, who's the Y, who's the Z, and all this other crap. So to me, depth at running back is important if you're not going to get a number one receiver, or if you believe that number one is already on your roster. And again, the one guy whose ceiling we don't know is Tyquan Thornton, because he's been here 1 year, and it was the worst 1 year. Matt Patricia's probably the worst thing that could happen to you as an offensive player in the NFL. Is that guy is running your offense. Okay? He could make anybody look pedestrian or worse. So I have no way of knowing what Thornton's ceiling is. I do know that physically speaking, he has all the tools of a number one receiver. He has world-class speed, 4.28. He's 6'2" and a half. He's big. And when I did see him, he looked like he had good hands. He could catch the ball. And it looked like he ran solid routes. But again, they never really did with a guy like that what you're supposed to do with a guy like that, which I believe that O'Brien's going to do. So the jury is out on that. We will wait. I guarantee you're not going to see much in the first 2 preseason games. I doubt he'll play. So to me, it's always about week 3. That third preseason game, I think they dropped the 4th preseason game, so that's the one, the dress rehearsal, so to speak. And you got 2 weeks to the season open. I did find out that Tom Brady night, for lack of a better term, is not going to be week 1 against Philly. It's going to be week 2, which is Sunday Night Football, when they host, I believe, the Miami Dolphins in Foxborough. Sunday night national game, the whole country will be watching. Kind of makes sense, because 425 is a major slot, but there'll be other games going on. They want Tom Brady to have the night, the NFL, and deservedly so. He's the greatest that's ever lived. I've seen some idiots out there in the past 72, 96 hours trying to say that Patrick Mahomes at this point in his career is far superior to Tom Brady. And I've shot them down on Facebook already, these 2 ass clowns. But let me be very clear for the rest of you morons out there who think that Mahomes is anywhere near Tom Brady. To be clear, Tom Brady's first 3 years were played under an entirely different set of rules, meaning the defense was still allowed to play defense. That's number one. So I don't want to hear about his touchdowns to Tom Brady's touchdowns when you can't sneeze on these guys now after 5 yards. So Patrick Mahomes is not playing the same hand that Tom Brady was dealt. Not even close. That's number one. Number 2, Tom Brady's number 1 receiver in 2001 when the season started was Terry Glenn. People remember him. He was a burner. He won Rookie of the Year, and they went to Super Bowl in '96 with Parcells. Terry Glenn quit on the Patriots in week 5. So basically Tom Brady played 2-3 games with him, and he was gone. So in his third game, he loses his number 1 because he quits and doesn't want to play for him anymore, demands a trade, and cries his way out of Foxborough. So this kid comes in, and in week 3, he loses the one discernible weapon he supposedly has left. From an offense that was declining from the height of the Bledsoe years when they had Glenn and Jefferson and Ben Coates and Curtis Martin. And those other guys are all gone. So now it's Troy Brown, Antoine Smith, Jermaine Wiggins, guys like David Patton, guys nobody cares about, a bunch of cast-offs, for lack of a better. Troy Brown, by the way, was the last pick of the Patriots in 1996, their last player drafted. And he got stoned with my brother. That's a true story, by the way. Gotta love it, Yoda. Gotta love it. Gotta love it, Joe Boo. Even Troy Brown knows. But turned out to be because Tom Brady turned him into Troy Brown. And the Patriots revolutionized the slot receiver position because of Tom Brady. I say because of Tom Brady because before Tom Brady, no quarterback in so-called Parcells or Belichick's so-called system could do that with a slot receiver. Tom Brady's the one guy that did it, okay, consistently. It's Tom Brady's offense, okay? And now we're hearing, long after the fact, that Belichick, Brady was running an offense with the coordinator forever. Belichick was focused on defense. He'd sit in the meetings, but he didn't have a whole lot other than to tell you what the defense would do. But that offense, that was Tom Brady's offense, okay? And he proved it when he took it to Tampa and won a Super Bowl. So Patriots haven't been able to win with that offense since he's been gone. So, and that was before McDaniels because it was Charlie Weiss in the beginning. So this crap about how Patrick Mahomes, who by the way had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And I said this on Facebook. Troy Brown versus Tyreek Hill. Anybody with a brain between is going to pick Troy Brown over Tyreek Hill as a receiver? How about Jermaine Wiggins versus Travis Kelce? Anybody that stupid? So he had better weapons. He plays in a league now where the scales are overwhelmingly tipped towards the offensive skill side. Defense can't do anything. Okay? Tom Brady's the only quarterback. I'm going to be very clear about this. Tom Brady is the only quarterback that we know could actually, because he's the only quarterback that ever did it, he won Super Bowls in both eras. He won 3 Super Bowls before they changed the rules, and he won 4 after they changed the rules. If that there doesn't end the GOAT conversation, anybody that doesn't believe that is a moron by definition. Okay? Because Tom Brady won 3 Super Bowls in the old league and 4 in the new one. He's the only quarterback that proved he could win in both eras. That right there makes him the GOAT. And he won without Bill Belichick. That ends that conversation. Bill Belichick hadn't done jack shit without Tom Brady. You've heard me scream about it ad nauseum. It was not Bill Belichick. It was Tom Brady. Even Belichick had to sit on it and eat it after Brady won the Super Bowl because he knew. And Robert Kraft now knows, and the whole world now knows, which is why Bill Belichick is on the hot seat. Whether you want to believe that or not, if Bill Belichick doesn't make the playoffs this year, Bill Belichick's out on his all-powerful ass because Robert Kraft is not going to take 8 and 9 again. And he better be setting Mac Jones up for success, which right now, unless he's convinced Kraft that dude is Tyquan Thornton or this combination of Thornton and Juju Smith-Schuster and Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne, who are talented. They're talented receivers. It's not like the Pats are devoid of talent. They just don't have right now, at least on paper, a true number one. Now, if that becomes Tyquan Thornton, which I believe it will if they're not, because who else have they got? It's got to be him. He's the guy with the most upside. He's the guy who's the fastest. Usually your number one is also probably your fastest guy. Most cases, he is. So, and look, as much as I like Hunter Henry's potential and Gesicki, they're not Travis Kelce. They're certainly not Rob Gronkowski. That's for shit sure. They're not the dude Andrews from Baltimore. So they're not Schultz, who's now in Carolina, wherever he went, who the Cowboys let go. Not that was a mistake. Or Hockenstein, who Detroit traded to Minnesota. That kid is nasty too. They're not even him. So to me, it's got to be Tyquan Thornton just because there's nobody else. And again, we don't know what his ceiling is. So I am hoping that in lieu of them not signing Dalvin Cook, or if they end up getting Elliot or whatever they're going to do, again, Elliot doesn't move the needle for me. I still think they're 11 or 12 wins as they are, but Elliot doesn't push them over as maybe Dalvin Cook could, because he's better than Ezekiel. I don't think anybody would argue with that at this point. So we'll see what they do. I don't even usually watch the first 2 preseason games because they're going to play one series. If they do that, 1, maybe 2 at the most. So to me, it's all about get through the preseason healthy. You've already seen what's happened in terms of injuries. Patrick Surtain, Jalen Ramsey, Miami, one of the top corners in the league, down. He's out till at least week 8, week 9. And Joe Burrow is now down for Cincinnati for weeks, they're saying. So this is why I hate preseason. But again, it's preseason. You got to practice. You got to practice. So in Burrow's case, he got hurt in a play where nobody hit him, which really scares the shit out of you because those are the ones that really, who the hell knows? And hopefully for the Cincinnati fans, he's not out much longer than week 1 or week 2. If this stretches into the season, Cincinnati could be in a real pickle, given what the improvements that Baltimore has made. And Pittsburgh, who was 9-8 last year, I think is going to be better, at least on paper, because their quarterback is in year 2. He had a pretty decent rookie year. Not all things considered, not bad. So we'll see what happens with them. But as far as the Patriots go, just get through this thing healthy. Try and bring in some quality running backs. I have no problem with them signing Ezekiel Elliott. He helps. He does. If he's got anything left. My brother seems to think that he does. But knowing Belichick, he'll wait until the money drops down and he'll get him for the veteran minute, whatever the hell it is. That's typical Belichick. Don't sign him now and get him into the camp. But whatever. He's the smartest guy in the room, right? So anyway, that's going to do it for segment 1. We will come back segment 2. Patrice Bergeron has the floor. or I should say the ice. Um, and when I say I'm going to miss him, that's an understatement. But I'll get into where he ranks, the lasting impression that he left on the Boston sports scene in just a bit. So it is a slug 'em down, whatever it is, sack up Sunday here in the sack. We're at the witching hour, highly questionable one. I will see you in just a few minutes.